All right, so wide receiver being a major talking point with the Dallas Cowboys, and the Tet versus Golden versus anyone been one of the things that a lot of people been talking about.
If I'm the Cowboys, I am thrilled because we got no receiver has been taken in the draft thus far in the our war room. So I'm going to put 2 on the board for you. T-Mac is back, and I'm going to throw in Matthew Golden out of Texas. Who are you going to take?
Regardless of the take of this is a good problem to have, by the way, Cowboy Nation, to be able to have someone that can walk right into the building that could be day one better than what we have outside of CeeDee Lamb. Now, granted, these guys got to get drafted. They got to go through OTAs and off-season workouts and preseason and beyond. But just by skill set alone, these guys are a little bit better than what we have outside of CeeDee Lamb. And no shade or anything ill will towards our guys.
I don't like you, Mina.
It's a great choice, though. Aren't you happy if you're the Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm happy if I'm the Cowboys. There's no question about it. What the Cowboys will very likely do in that scenario, if it's down to those 2 picks, is take Tedero and McMillan.
Yeah,
Tedero.
I think so too.
It's a compliment. You've got your difference maker on the other side. You look for a big one-on-one guy in Tet, jump balls. Don't need him to be a great route runner year one. Continue to develop him.
It's hard at it, y'all. It's hard to figure out which wide receiver that can help alleviate some of the issues with the Cowboys, especially in red zone. Of course, this is a different regime as far as offensive attack of how we're going to approach things. This team should look completely different. But from skill sets alone, you now got the choices between a guy that can run a 4.27, 4.28, or 9-ish, give or take, and now you got a guy that can jump up and give Moses a handshake out of Tet, right? So you got both of those 2 unique things that you can have at the table. Now, granted, people are going to talk about route running, right? People are going to talk about the fact that this team haven't done X, Y, Z things in the last few years. I get all of that, or 30 years, 30 seasons. But in actuality, if you have a guy like Tedero, McMillan, who can play that X position that can be on the outside, and you asking him to not go up against the other DBs number 1s because he's going to be going up against number 2s, right? The number 1 DBs normally would be on CeeDee Lamb, right? If not, CeeDee is going to feast. He's going to eat, right? And I like to have those type of problems of being able to go back and forward with this type of situation. Now, if you do go with Matthew Golden, there will be situations and chances that you line him up inside as the Z, or at sometimes you will put him at the X spot. But if you have T-Mac, you know for sure who's your definitive X receiver, who's your wide receiver that could be Mingo, right? And then your Z could be Lamb, and then that could be Lamb can play all 3 spots, but, you know, you will be flipping him between the Z and the X. And I do like that because that's going to keep the opposing team defensive coordinator up all night.
You got to choose.
I'm going to take McMillan. I'm going to do it just because of this situation. But I want to make it perfectly clear to everyone out there that's listening and watching. I would take Matthew Golden given most other circumstances.
Most other circumstances, meaning that other teams don't have a CeeDee Lamb in this particular draft spot at 12. And what we're trying to do is complement one for the other, right? We're trying to insert someone in, right, so that if given a situation and a chance or a scenario, that we can be sure that we covered all loose ends. And when you have someone of the nature of Tet, I get it. I still like Trey Harris out of this draft. I do like the Higgins kid out of this draft. But those are not guarantees that you can fall to. Those guys will fall to those particular spots. The draft, either you're going to draft BPA or you're going to window dress your board. And the reality, the realism of it is that give me something that can keep the opposing team up at night. right? Regardless of it. And I think that could be very much so a real thing. All right, we got this right here.
Teteroa McMillan out of Arizona has been mocked in the first round by many draft analysts. I reported earlier this morning that the former Wildcat has visited the Patriots, Chargers, Seahawks, Browns, Raiders, Panthers, Cowboys, and Saints, and he has 3 more lined up. Now, in talking to multiple teams, I can tell you that McMillan, or as the kids call him, T-Mac, the other T-Mac, he has drawn comparisons to T. Higgins, to Mike Evans, 6'4", ran 4.48, 4.5.
The T. Higgins stuff feels right.
The only question mark for him, to me, is he going to be great? I think the floor is he's really good. Some of these teams really jumped out to me, specifically the Chargers and Cowboys.
Let's stop right here with the Cowboys. First and foremost, we know we need help at wideout. And this is no shade upon any of the guys that's here outside of CD. We need someone that can win their one-on-ones. Not saying that Tet can do that, but by sure skill set of height alone and his short area quickness, he's not the blazing of the blazers of route running. But like I said, you don't need that. And he don't round his routes off as much as what most people would say from a taller, linear built wide receiver. But what I'm getting at is that somebody like Tat that can alleviate a lot of things. And shout out to Jordan Schultz with this report here.
Imagine him teed up with CeeDee Lamb.
I will tell you this. Seattle likes him a lot. I'll just leave it at that. Seattle likes him a lot.
So could T-Mac be the essentially replacement to DK Metcalf, pair him up with JSN?
If I had to make a prediction on my draft, he goes to the Seahawks.
It could be a thing that he goes to Seattle Seahawks. But if he falls to the 12th and we don't have an Ashton Genty there, and if Matthew Golden somehow is there and is Tet and Matthew Golden, then you go with Tet. If this is another situation whereas Tet and Ashton Genty is gone and Matthew Golden is there, then you pick Golden. These are good problems to have, by the way. Just don't outthink yourself. I'm old enough to remember the Giants outthought themselves, right? The year they drafted Kadarius Toney. They passed up on Smitty and they passed up on Michael Parsons. And they was both thinking that, hey, edge rush, linebackers, deep class, wide receiver, hey, semi-deep. We can trade back, get multiple picks within the confines of top 100 and still get these things. And they ended up with Kadarius Toney because they traded back. They moved off from players. You don't want to do that, Cowboy Nation. And I don't want that for us because it goes back to this statement right here that I always been saying with the Dallas Cowboys, especially around this time when we start talking about X, Y, and Z factors.
Hold on. You have a choice. You can have the boat or the mystery box.
What, are you crazy? We'll take the boat.
No, not so fast, Lois. A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. You know how much we've wanted one of those.
Then let's just...
We'll take the box.
We'll take the box. You gave up a boat for free tickets to a crappy comedy club.
Look. Let's not be them, Cowboy Nation. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Go Cowboys. Make the right decision. Peace.